Well, genetic counseling has certainly come a long way, but who really needs it, and how do you know?
Joining us now are two genetic counselors from UConn Health, Connor Linehan and Jennifer Stroop. Guys, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having us.
Hello, thank you for having us.
Oh, it's our pleasure, our pleasure.
Connor, let me start with you. Why would someone see a genetic counselor?
Well, there's multiple reasons. Traditionally, in the cancer setting, the biggest concern is whether or not a person is at an elevated risk to develop cancer compared to people in the general population. And usually this is based on a family history of cancer.
All right, so it has a lot to do with having cancer or the potential to get cancer.
Yes, that's correct.
So also, are there different stages in your life when you might be referred to genetic counseling?
I think that can really depend on what a person presents with. And there's no real set time when it has to happen. Traditionally, we like to begin these conversations no earlier than adulthood, but it does depend on a person's medical and family histories.
All right. And Jennifer, considering all the changes in technology, what if someone had genetic testing several years ago? Should they be back to get more genetic testing, or is that good enough to have the past?
Well, that's a great question. So cancer genetic testing has been around for about 25 years, but there was a significant expansion in the technology about 7 to 8 years ago. So if anyone had genetic testing, especially for BRCA, prior to 2015, we recommend that you look at your results, discuss your results with your provider, because there may be new genes that just weren't available at the time. And so it's always good to remember that there is progress and there are changes, and that's one of the reasons that for our patients, we're able to work with My Gene Counsel, and My Gene Counsel provides digital, electronic, personalized updates. So with the generous support of the Linda Clemens Breast Cancer Foundation, we're able to provide those updates to our patients.
So is there, a lot of us see this in the movies, or we think, oh gosh, they can determine everything by my genes. I don't know if that's true, but what is a common myth or misunderstanding you think the general public has about genetic counseling?
I can take that one. I think when we always talk with our patients just to look at their family history. And so we look at both the mother side and the father side. Both sides are important. And for the genes that we're typically seeing patients where there may be a pattern of breast, ovarian, or colon cancer. And more recently, we are working with patients that have advanced or metastatic prostate cancer. So this kind of BRCA testing can be appropriate for men as well. And for patients, if there are family histories, say, of breast and pancreatic cancer, that information can be relevant for both men and for women.
I think it's fascinating that you're both genetic counselors. How did you get into this field?
I had a genetics professor in college that I dearly loved. So Dr. Deere, thank you for all of your advice. I worked with fruit flies and decided that was not my life's calling. And so to be in a profession, particularly I think in cancer genetics, our goal is prevention and enabling patients and their families to have information so they can feel informed, and then they can make decisions that can have really concrete and dramatic, can have impacts that can be life-saving. So it's a great job. It's a great career.
And Connor, I know you and I have met at UConn out there before. We just talked about how do you get the genetic testing? It's simple to do?
The physical action is extremely simple. Usually just a blood draw, or if that's not an option, we can do a saliva sample. DNA is actually very robust, very reliable. It's probably one of the easiest medical tests that you'll get. The more complicated piece is figuring out what a person needs, which is sort of where Jen and I come in.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, we want to thank you both for being with us on Great Day Connecticut. Continued success doing the great job that you're doing.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. For more information, you can visit health.uconn.edu right there on this.
It's so fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, wouldn't you just like to know,
Yeah, a simple swab, a little blood test, or a simple saliva test.
And find out all about your DNA, although usually there's a reason you would be doing it.
Absolutely.
But it is fascinating. And
it's fascinating.
Such a growing field. So.
Well, I think you're fascinating.
I think that football over there is fascinating.
Have a great day, everybody.